You didn't rehearse it. You weren't standing on a stage trying to impress. You just said it. Raw. Honest. From that deep, scarred place inside you where truth doesn't wear makeup. And in that moment, something in them snapped. Like your words reached straight through their chest and tapped a memory they buried years ago. The way you said that shh, like you weren't just talking, you were unlocking something. You didn't offer comfort, you offered a mirror. And what they saw, it shook them, because no one's ever said it like that. This isn't about sounding wise. This is about hitting people so hard with your truth. It wakes up the version of them they forgot existed. You look around and see people smiling, laughing, moving through life like they've got it all under control. But what you don't see, what they never let slip, is the silent chaos boiling just beneath the surface. Everybody is carrying something, a heartbreak they never spoke of, a betrayal they never recovered from, a loss that never made the obituary but buried them anyway. People walk around like ticking time bombs, but they've learned to dress up the damage. They've painted over the cracks. They've stapled "I'm fine" to their faces, so tight it looks believable. But when you speak, when you really speak, not that surface level, filter-polished, pre-approved talk, but from that deep place inside you where your own wars were fought and survived, you shake something in them. You speak a language their pain remembers. You activate trauma they thought they'd buried 6 feet under with enough concrete to forget. They flinch not because your words were offensive, but because they were too accurate. Because somehow you said out loud what they've only ever whispered in the shower, in the dark, or into their own pillow at 3 a.m. You unintentionally give their pain a name. And for a moment everything they've suppressed becomes visible, raw, bleeding, breathing. And maybe that scares them. Maybe it even angers them. But deep down, they're grateful. Because for the first time, someone saw the invisible war they've been fighting behind the scenes. And not just saw it, understood it. You didn't just speak to them. You detonated truth in a place they didn't even know was armed. And that kind of resonance leaves marks. You don't need a microphone to be heard. You don't need a crowd. You don't need some grand stage, spotlight burning, applause ringing. Your voice isn't loud. It's lethal. It doesn't boom. It pierces. It doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. Because when you speak, it's not just about volume. It's about weight. It's about the undeniable gravity of someone who's been to hell and made it back without a tour guide. You carry years in your tone, years of nights no one knew you were crying, years of choking back words because the world said your emotions were too much, years of swallowing pain like it was your only option. Now, when you speak, it comes out different. It's not rehearsed, it's not polished, it's not pretty, it's real, it's dangerous, it's pure emotional artillery wrapped in calm delivery. And people don't expect that. They expect loud to mean powerful. But you're quiet. And somehow your silence before the sentence is louder than their entire life soundtrack. Because when you finally open your mouth, it's like truth gets permission to exist. Like emotion stops being a burden and starts becoming a damn weapon. They don't forget what you say, not because you yell it into the void, but because you say it like you've bled every syllable. Your voice makes people sit the fuck up. Because it's not noise, it's evidence. Evidence that survival leaves a sound. And when they hear you, they don't just hear you talking. They hear the echo of every day you refuse to quit. They hear the war in your whispers. And That shot hits harder than any scream ever could. Some people think forgetting is healing. They believe if they bury it deep enough, time will dissolve it. So they push it down, deeper, darker, until it stops screaming and starts whispering. But trauma doesn't die. It doesn't vanish. It waits, waits for a trigger, a moment, a voice, and then you walk in. You speak from your scars, not for sympathy, but from survival. And without realizing it, your words drill straight into that dead zone of someone else's soul. You touch the doorknob they've welded shut with silence, and suddenly they remember. Not because they wanted to, not because they were ready, but because you said something that vibrated against their pain like a tuning fork. Your words hit like a match against long-forgotten gasoline, and now the fire's back. You didn't ask permission. You didn't even know you were holding the key. But somehow the way you spoke, with that unapologetic rawness, that bone-deep conviction, it resurrected something they tried to kill off a long time ago. That memory they shoved into the back of their mind. You just pulled it into daylight, and now it's breathing again. And here's the part that breaks people. You didn't do it cruelly. You did it because you weren't afraid to go there. You went into your own hell and came back fluent in a language they didn't know how to speak anymore. You showed them that pain doesn't need to be erased. It needs to be faced. And maybe that terrifies them, but maybe, just maybe, you gave them permission to finally confront the ghost that's been dragging chains behind them for years. You were never built to hand out comfort like candy. You weren't designed to walk into a room and tell people everything's gonna be okay, when you know damn well some storms don't pass. They reshape the land. You're not here to decorate their pain with pretty words. You're here to detonate illusions. You don't do slogans. You don't sell inspiration. You bring truth, the kind that stings, the kind that strips skin, the kind that makes people question everything they thought was settled. You're not a motivational speaker. You're a disruptor, a soul-level agitator. And that scares people, because people love their comfort zones, their polished lies, their curated identities, their made-up reasons why they can't. Then you show up, and you don't knock. You kick the door down with your presence. You ask the questions they've been avoiding. You speak the truths they buried under routine, under roles, under reputation. You say things that make the air uncomfortable, not because you're cruel, but because the truth doesn't wear a filter, and you're not in the business of censorship. You don't motivate, you provoke. You don't hand out blankets, you light fires. And when you do, people either lean in closer or run like hell. Because your energy, it's not for everyone. It's for the ones who are ready to stop pretending. You're not giving pep talks. You're ripping veils. You're not lifting spirits. You're raising the dead parts of people's identities, the ones they thought they outgrew, but actually just outfeared. So don't shrink. Don't soften. The world has enough speakers. What it needs is more truth bombs with a heartbeat. And that's exactly what the hell you are. There's no rewind button on awakening. Once you pull the curtain back on a lie someone's been living with, once you crack open the shell around the version of themselves they've kept hidden, that's it. No going back. You didn't just make them think. You made them feel something they'd locked away. You flipped a switch in their nervous system they didn't even know existed. And now, they can't unfeel it. They can't go back to small talk. Can't go back to comfort-based conversations. Can't keep pretending their excuses are valid and their wounds aren't bleeding. Because you exposed the quiet ache. You gave shape to the thing they couldn't name, but always carried. You took that invisible thing wrapped around their ribs, the doubt, the fear, the trauma, and you called it out, not to shame it, but to dare it. And now they're wide awake. Awake in a way that stings at first, because waking up isn't peaceful, it's jarring. It's a cold splash of truth to the face after years of numbness. And yeah, maybe they hated you for it. Maybe they resented the mirror you held up. But deep down, something in them needed it. They needed someone to disrupt their rhythm, to punch a hole in their autopilot, to say the one sentence that made everything unravel and rewire itself. You didn't just speak, you sparked something. Now their silence is louder, their reflection is clearer, their denial is crumbling. They can't pretend anymore. You woke up a version of them that had been buried beneath layers of survival, and now that it's breathing, it refuses to go back to sleep. They think you're gifted, but this isn't a gift. This is earned pain. This is repurposed heartbreak. You speak like that because you've lost most people don't come back from. You've had days where you sat in the shower with your clothes still on, numb and blinking at the wall like it held answers. You've had moments where your voice cracked just ordering coffee because grief doesn't care where you are. And now you use every broken piece like a blade. You carve your words from experience. That's why they hit so hard, because you've walked through fire and brought the fucking smoke with you. You'll forget half of what you said, but they won't. That one phrase you threw out casually, it tattooed itself onto someone's ribs. They're lying in bed weeks later, still haunted, in the best way, by the sentence you dropped like it was nothing. You shifted something. You poked a nerve. And now, they're different. Maybe they're still hurting. Maybe they're still processing. But now they know the wound is there. And knowing is the first step to healing. You didn't just unlock something inside them. You turned the lights on in a room they boarded shut years ago. Some will look away. Some will laugh it off. Some will say you're too intense. But it's not because you were wrong. It's because you were right, and they weren't ready. Truth doesn't always feel like love. Sometimes it feels like rage, like friction, like fire. But fire cleanses. Fire reveals what's real once the fake burns away. So don't dim it. Don't soften the edges just because it makes people squirm. Say it exactly how it lands in your gut, because someone out there is dying for the raw version, the version that cuts, the version that wakes them. They don't need comfort. They need confrontation. And you're the voice built for that mission. You didn't need to scream. You didn't need a script. Just a single moment of honesty, and you cracked open something they'd been hiding for years. You weren't trying to be a hero. You just spoke your truth, and it hit like a collision with everything they've been avoiding. That's not luck. That's power. And now they can't forget it. You didn't just shake the room. You shifted something inside them. For real, for good. If this hit you where you weren't ready to be hit, good. That means it's working. Like, share, and subscribe, because this is just the beginning.